Infrastructure falling apart, billions of dollars sent to Ukraine and Israel while dams collapse, trains crash, releasing deadly chemicals into the air again. Major cities looking like war zones, and those in power caring more about countries overseas. Priorities, people. We've got a war with Iran looming. People are now posting MRI scans showing chunks of their brains missing. I know, none of us are shocked. Meanwhile, the controllers are cashing out while everything burns. And they're desperately using distractions to keep your eyes off the real issues. UFOs? Sure, why not? Let's throw that one in there too. A UFO allegedly was shot down by the government over Alaska. And the FDA just approved inhalable vaccines because... Welcome to the show, folks. Another day in clown world. My name is Steve Eyes. You are on the EyesIsWatchin channel. $35 trillion in debt and counting. The controllers need a financial great reset, and it looks like they're preparing for it. Check this out right here, showing the CPI index and the price of gold spanning a couple of decades. Gold is shooting up through the roof. The orange line here is gold's price, and the red one, that's the CPIU, which looks like it's barely moved. That's right, so the lying clowns that run the circus are telling us the official consumer price index for all urban consumers, as reported by the government, is that inflation has remained relatively controlled or steady for all this time. But the blue line here shows shadow stats, an alternate CPI that tells us something completely different. It gives us a more realistic picture of inflation. And based on the grocery store prices, we all know which line here is more realistic. And the gray bars, those are recessions. And apparently, we're living through a permanent one now. Isn't that just lovely? People are starting to wake up to the government's straight up lies. They're catching on that this isn't just bad luck or some natural cycle. The plan here is evident. A plan to convince everyone that everything's going great, even as they quickly lead us off a cliff. Like the Bank of Canada saying they're scaling down CBDC work to focus on payments landscape. And of course, this is done to avoid setting off any alarm bells. They don't want people panicking, because panic is the last thing they need right now. Their entire game relies on keeping people calm, compliant, and believing that they're in control. If everyone suddenly panicked and started withdrawing cash, ditching digital payments, or buying up gold and silver, it would create chaos. The financial system would implode overnight under the weight of too many people pulling out at once. They don't need a messy collapse, they need a carefully designed collapse. One that they can control, manage, and profit from. A smooth transition from the old system to the shiny new digital currency world they've been building in the background. If the public loses faith too soon, their whole plan unravels. A controlled collapse is occurring, so when the system fails, everyone will think the digital option is the only choice. The good old bait and switch, pulling the rug out from underneath us slow enough that we don't notice until it's too late to do anything about it. But some economists here are onto them, because gold's having the time of its life, smashing records right here. Overnight, it skyrockets by nearly $1,000. Silver right behind too, with a $100 jump. Like everyone's rushing for the exits in this clown show economy. Now, the government is clearly lying to the people, manipulating statistics, showing graphs that everything is just fine while buying up gold, and many people are onto them. They're onto the lies, and this is why gold is exploding right now. No one trusts fiat anymore. But they won't tell you that, okay? They don't want you to panic. Now, where's all this money coming from? I mean, $35 trillion in debt. And Israel just got another $8.7 billion. Fed's printing more monopoly money again. Prices of everything going up, and wages are still stuck at 2008 levels. But hey, at least your house is worth more now, right? Assuming you're not planning to sell it anytime soon, because no one's going to be able to afford it with mortgage rates this absurd. Tick-tock goes the clock, and so many nations are loading up on gold reserves. at the moment. It really seems when you see the amount of countries working together to buy gold, you know something is going wrong here, okay? When countries stock up on gold, that's a good sign that something is going to collapse or a war is on the horizon. Maybe that's what the Iraq war was about. Not about giving them democracy, but about loading up on more gold reserves. Of course, it wasn't about just oil or democracy. One of the reasons here is gold. Loading up on those gold reserves before the big battle. So many were sold on the illusion of freedom and liberty, but the demons in charge were just stacking up their gold reserves. Nothing to do with democracy. They saw Iraq as a golden opportunity. I mean, quite literally. You think this is a coincidence? They seized almost $1 billion worth of gold in 2003, and that's what they admit they seized. Who knows how much gold Saddam was really sitting on over there, but you better believe they hoarded a lot more there, all in preparation for what's coming next. They didn't just go to war for power, they went to build up a stockpile, setting the stage for the financial reset we're now inching towards. It's the end of the road for this fiat system, but when the demons met in 1913 on Jekyll Island, they knew about this. And now, even Bill Gates on mainstream news conveniently predicting another world war on the horizon. The pieces start to fall in place, okay? Can't you see the agenda playing out? What better way to justify stockpiling even more gold than by creating false emergencies and global crises? A carefully engineered collapse where they'll be sitting on mountains of gold while the people are left holding on to worthless paper. Or so they hope. And speaking of prepping, Trump's 1 ounce silver coin dropped a few days ago. Yep, perfect timing, right? So many conspiracies involved here, it's making my head spin. A financial apocalypse set to happen, and it feels a little too coordinated here, okay? Trump's playing a bigger role in this grand theater more than anyone's willing to admit. It's almost like he's helping set the stage for whatever chaos comes next, just in time to profit from it, of course. The timing is just suspicious. I mean, the dollar collapsing, gold skyrocketing, and here comes Trump with his silver coin. Whether he is in on it or not, you can't tell me you can't see the pieces being moved into place here for a financial great reset. But I don't know. Here's what I'm doing. I'm stockpiling on popcorn because whatever happens next, it's going to be one hell of a show. What a time to be alive. So suck it up and buckle up, Buttercup, because the dollar is on its way out. And it looks like gold, silver, and maybe even some Trump collectible coins will be leading the charge. Funny how that works, right? It's almost like the whole system was designed to implode. George Washington once said, "The last official act of any government is to loot the treasury." So basically what that means is when a government knows it's about to crash and burn, those in power will raid the treasury one last time, just grabbing all the cash before everything collapses. Think about what they're doing right now. They're printing trillions of dollars, spending like maniacs, sending billions overseas, and somehow can't account for where it all went. They could care less about these places they're sending the money to. They're stealing the money and stashing their wealth in assets that won't disappear when the financial system inevitably crashes. The orchestrators of the 2030 agenda are grabbing what they can while the house is on fire, all while manipulating statistics and flat out lying about how well the economy is doing. Just a coincidence, of course, like a And would you look at that? The government is so desperate for a distraction of their engineered collapse getting exposed right now with P. Diddy. They got the nerve to hit us with this one right here. The government just came out saying they just shot a UFO down over in Alaska. How convenient. Just when the government's crimes against humanity start creeping into the headlines, they suddenly decide it's time for a out-of-this-world distraction. That's right, people. UFOs are here. Nothing beats the good old aliens are coming card, okay? You know, that's my favorite psyop, actually. Check this out right here. They have a UFO, a picture of a UFO right here that was shot down over Alaska. This is the picture they showed us with all these, 4K and 8K cameras they got out now. They give us this. A blurry image that looks like someone photoshopped a horseshoe into the sky. About as clear as the alleged plane that hit the Pentagon. But hey, don't question it. Just trust the experts, the ones that are totally confused and baffled 24/7. Funny how these UFOs always seem to pop up at the perfect time here. Economy's collapsing. People are waking up to the surveillance state. P. Diddy in prison, allegedly not eating because he thinks Hillary Clinton might poison his meals.
Your husband flies to Epstein Island 27 times. Then they arrest Jeffrey Epstein, and then you kill him. Just like that. You bribe the guards, you turn off the cameras, and then you choke him to death. Will you be choking Puff Daddy this time around?
Right.
So how are you planning on doing it?
Well, I wanted to choke him at night and make it look like a suicide, just like Jeffrey Epstein. But then I realized Puffy might actually enjoy that. So, maybe he slips on the shower. Maybe he chokes with a piece of fried chicken. I still haven't decided.
No biggie. The trustworthy government that would never lie about anything just scream, aliens! And they suddenly got everyone gazing at the sky instead of demanding answers from the government. It's like clockwork. They've been pulling this trick for years, but now it's just getting ridiculous. I mean, it reeks of desperation. And the best part, our primitive jet fighters totally took it down. That's right, our ancient 90s era jets somehow outsmarted an advanced intergalactic craft from a species that's supposedly millions of years ahead of us. Makes total sense. They fly light years across the galaxy just to be taken out by a military that accidentally loses jets. Yeah, remember that? What happened after they shot it down? Well, they won't tell you that, of course, because it's classified. In other words, the DICs be like, we're some lying scumbags that need you to stay focused on this UFO story instead of the actual crimes being exposed right now. We know how this works. Well, folks, suit up and lace your boots up because we're going to war with Iran. Last podcast, I went over all the headlines blaming Iran for everything. It's crazy to watch this play out as expected. I expected this to go this exact way, and it's actually happening as I predicted. Now, this is being shared everywhere. It's laughable, I must say. On the Ayatollah's website 2 years ago, they posted this. A video that depicts a drone assassination of Trump while he's casually playing golf right here. And this video has resurfaced. The video is supposedly a response to the U.S. assassination of an Iranian general back in 2020, Soleimani. As many of you know, in this animation, a drone sneaks into Mar-a-Lago, hacks security cameras, and targets Trump and his golf buddies with the message, "Revenge is definite," dramatically flashing across the screen. Now, the timing is so convenient here because right after Trump reveals that Iran is gunning for him, they're out to get him, this little video that was actually released in 2022 suddenly pops back up and it's all over the headlines like some kind of morbid promotional material for Trump. Feels like Iran's way of reminding everyone that they've got their eye on Trump while ramping up tension amid ongoing assassination plots. PSYOP season, folks. It accelerates. And then Trump comes out right after this video starts circulating again, and he says this: "Big threats on my life by Iran. The entire US military is watching and waiting. Moves were already made by Iran that didn't work, but they will try again. Not a good situation for anyone. I am surrounded by more men, guns, and weapons than I have ever seen before. Thank you to Congress for unanimously approving far more money to Secret Service. 0. No votes, strictly bipartisan. Nice to see Republicans and Democrats get together on something. An attack on a former president is a death wish for the attacker," says Trump. You better believe it, Democrats and Republicans are both fully on board with this idea with a war in Iran, okay? Which will, of course, lead into a major global conflict that they are hoping for. Check this out right here.
"But if I were the president, I would inform the threatening country, in this case Iran, that if you do anything to harm this person, we are going to blow your largest cities and the country itself to smithereens. We're going to blow it to smithereens. You can't do that."
Wow.
And there would be no more threats. There would be no more threats.
Well, you heard it from the horse's mouth, but check these stories out right here and read the headlines yourselves. The absurdity is off the charts. So here we have a story where Iran's president orders hits on Americans on U.S. soil, and then just a few months later, American taxpayers are footing the bill to protect that same guy on U.S. soil. I mean, how does any of this make any sense? One moment they're calling for American blood, and the next, the U.S. is rolling out the red carpet to protect them. them. Okay. And then this happens too at a very convenient time, Trump being warned of an Iranian assassination plot. The go to war with Iran agenda seems to be playing out big time. This is all about setting the stage for another war. What better way to justify it than by stirring up some public outrage? Some Iranian officials seem to be in on this whole plan too. I mean, they're paid off big time. And let's be honest, maybe some of that $8.7 billion that was sent to Israel went straight into the pockets of those Iranian top leaders. The irony is that money will be completely worthless when the system collapses. Silly wabbits, thinking they can buy themselves out of a global financial apocalypse when the whole system is set to implode. More comedy here. The layers of weirdness seem to be stacking up. Grand jury secretly indicts multiple Iranians on charges related to hacking Trump's campaign. Details about the defendants and specific charges are not known yet. What are the chances that this all happens right when Trump is being warned about an Iranian assassination plot and after Iran's president is supposedly calling for the killing of Americans on U.S. soil? The timing is just impeccable, like they're reading off a script. It's hard not to imagine that there's a coordinated effort here to paint Iran as the ultimate villain, while behind the scenes, some shady deals are probably being made here. Who even knows if these multiple Iranians are even real people? They didn't give us any names or any details at all. Trump comes out saying, yes, it's Iran. No need to ask further questions, and I have no evidence that I can give you, but trust me, it was Iran. We're going to war. See the pieces coming together? So basically what's happening here is governments are putting on this grand show telling us the economy's doing just fine. There's nothing to see here. Meanwhile, they're raiding the treasury like it's a clearance sale, grabbing everything they can before the system collapses. They keep the masses calm by feeding them fairy tales about economic stability while pumping out trillions in spending. What they are doing here is setting the stage for a world war to hit the big reset button. This war has nothing to do with power or territory per se. It's all about triggering a financial reset that they've been planning for decades. They already have an alternative system in place, and they're wiping out the old system while secretly sliding us into this new digital control grid. While they desperately try to grab their gold and spend it on physical assets that they can keep after the system crashes, they're trying to set the world on fire and cause as much chaos they can to cover their tracks. And every politician seems to be working in lockstep with this agenda. Trump was right in that tweet. He said, "It's amazing to see Republicans and Democrats both on the same page here." Oh, they definitely are, all right. Looks like Albert Pike's prediction is really playing out here.
That's the cost of living crisis. Suddenly we went up from prices being around there to prices being there. And you don't really see that in this data, okay? Because inflation is really just measuring the difference between that and that. And if you look at those two lines, you're talking about a 2.3% change. That's the number we're talking about today. But for a lot of people, it's not about that. It's about the difference between this and that. And when you look at the difference between this and that, that's 20%. And I think that's the dichotomy here between these inflation numbers where it looks normal and this, which is really not normal at all.
20% increase in less than 3 years. Well, make of that what you will.